Hello everyone and welcome to SeibenLore's Top 10. Today I want to look at the foundation of any Magic deck from Standard to Legacy. I'm of course referring to lands. Great land cards can make good decks amazing or even stand as the deck's win condition. Many great lands have been printed over the years, and I want to share with you those that I feel are the most powerful. Again, these top 10s only serve as my opinion. I don't claim to be a Magic champion player or anything like that, and these lists only reflect my preference. With that, let's get started. Number 10. Mutavault. Mutavault comes into play untapped, which is already better than many non-basic lands, and produces 1 colorless mana. For the price of 1 colorless mana, you can make Mutavault into a 2/2 creature with all creature types until end of turn. The 2/2 creature is nothing special really until you realize it counts as all creature types, meaning there's a lot of room for utility and synergy with tribal decks. Run a Merfolk deck and have a couple of Lord of Atlantises out along with Mutavault. For the price of just 1 mana, you get a 4/4 Merfolk until end of turn, after which it goes back to being a land card and avoids most removal. It's a good land, and that's why you can see it in decks from Standard to Modern to Legacy. Number 9. Rishadan Port. Rishadan Port again comes into play untapped and provides 1 colorless mana. You can tap another colorless mana and the port itself to tap another target land. This ability may seem underwhelming at first, but it is really good at slowing down your opponent's game. You get to choose what land you wish to tap, so you can really starve your opponent of a certain color if they are running a multiple color deck. This land can also shut down non-basic lands' triggered abilities. With this land you can tap a Mutavault of your opponent, making it unviable to be turned into a creature. Number 8. Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith comes into play untapped, but does not provide with any mana when it is tapped. Rather, when you tap Maze of Ith, you may untap a target attacking creature and prevent all damage that would be dealt to and dealt from that creature. Now this may not sound like an amazing ability, but look at it closely. This ability can provide amazing combat tricks along with a way to save creatures and stall your opponent's aggression. You can use this land to save a creature you declared as attacking from an instant buff or a damage spell of some sort, or even on an opponent who is looking to deal early damage or gain a dealt damage trigger like lifelink or death touch. Number 7. Wasteland. The Legacy staple Wastelands comes into play untapped and adds 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. By tapping and sacrificing Wasteland, you can destroy a target non-basic land. This is an amazing ability which usually costs a lot of mana to pull off. Removing one of your opponent's mana is very expensive. But unlike spells which destroy lands, Wasteland only costs you 1 mana itself, and it cannot be countered. In many decks it is crucial to destroy key non-basic lands to slow down your opponent. Destroying a Mutavault or a dual land are just 2 examples of the usefulness of Wasteland. Number 6. All of the fetch lands. Yeah, it's probably a cop-out, but I can't really just pick one fetch land. Fetch lands come into play untapped and provide you with no mana directly to your mana pool, but if you tap the land, pay 1 life, and sacrifice it, you can search your library for either of the colors the fetch land could produce. These allow you to fix your mana and search for what you need when you need it, fetch lands being instant speed. These lands also help to thin your deck out if you are looking to get certain cards with more regularity. The best thing about fetch lands is that you can use them to get dual lands, which produce 2 different colors, as long as one of the colors are represented in the fetch lands text. These lands are an expensive Legacy staple for a reason. They're amazing. Number 5. Mishiras Workshop. Mishiras Workshop comes into play untapped and provides 3 colorless mana each time it is tapped. The catch being that this mana can only be used to cast artifacts. The condition may seem like a hindrance at first, until you realize that artifact decks are a thing. This is basically a Black Lotus, you know, the card that produces 3 black mana on turn 1? Yeah, like that, but every turn if you're playing with only artifacts. It provides a huge turn 1 capability for artifact decks, and it's so good it's on the ban list for Legacy. Number 4. Library of Alexandria. Library of Alexandria comes into play untapped and provides you with 1 colorless mana, or you can draw a card from the top of your deck instead. The catch to this land's ability is that you can only draw a card as long as you already have exactly 7 cards in your hand. It's insane to see a land which has the ability to draw you a card, an ability which is not only free, but cannot be countered. Card draw is so important that the restriction on it doesn't even hinder it. There are plenty of deck techs which can allow for a player to remain at 7 cards in their hand and get that extra draw on their opponent every turn. Like Mishiras Workshop, Library of Alexandria is also banned from Legacy play. Number 3. Strip Mine. Strip Mine comes into play untapped and gives you 1 colorless mana when you tap it. Its ability is tap Strip Mine, sacrifice it, and destroy target land. You may think, hey, that sounds very familiar to another card that was mentioned on this list. And you'd be right. It is very similar to Wasteland. In its similarity to Wasteland, Strip Mine brings all of its benefits along with one added extra benefit: the ability to destroy any land your opponent controls. Wasteland can only be used on non-basic lands, which is amazing, don't get me wrong, but Strip Mine can be used on non-basic lands as well as basic lands. Overall, it is just an improved version of Wasteland. Number 2. Dual lands. Just like fetch lands, there is no way I can pick only one single dual land because they are all basically the same. Dual lands come into play untapped, but provide you with 2 different colors of mana. They require no payment for casting them, but provide you with the versatility of having 2 different colors to play with. These lands are necessary for any deck that runs more than one color. They are just better than standard lands in every way. While the original dual lands are the best, newer versions all have merit in different formats of play. There's a reason why they're so expensive. They make decks work. Number 1. Tolarian Academy. Tolarian Academy again comes into play untapped, but when you tap it for mana, you get a blue mana for each artifact you control. You may think this isn't powerful until you again think back to artifact decks. This card is insanely powerful for artifact decks because many artifact decks run 0 mana cost cards like Mem Knights and Ornithopters. On turn 1, it is very possible for an artifact deck to defeat an opponent with this land card. It ramps up mana very quickly. It makes the game nearly impossible to win as long as the card is in the opening hand, along with some 0 mana cost cards. This card is banned from Legacy tournaments because it made artifact decks way too fast and overpowering, and for good reason. It's the best land card in my opinion. So, there you have it. My top 10 land cards in Magic the Gathering. Again, this is only my opinion, and I'm curious to see what your top lands would be. Which lands did I miss, or how would you rank them? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.